The Las Vegas Strip, a breathtaking mirage of high-roller casinos, flowing champagne, and endless possibility. Up here, a mile above the street, the air is thick with ambition, and money changes hands in silence. This is the undisputed playground of the powerful, and on this night, every player in the city was gathering at one address: Quentin Q-Tip Rhodes' exclusive Black Diamond Bash. But the relentless light of the Strip casts the deepest shadows. Just hours later, far from the polished marble floors and the million-dollar view, reality struck. On a dusty, forgotten back street, the music stopped. The only sound left was the slow, steady drip of morning dew and the low chatter of a police radio. The woman found lying cold and alone on the asphalt was 25-year-old Amani Zahara. Amani, the Instagram model known for her fierce looks and even fiercer drive, had been at the very peak of that glittering world only a few short hours before. The chilling contradiction was immediate. Amani was a VIP guest at the most exclusive party in town, yet she was found murdered, blocks away, dumped on a quiet residential street corner. Her luxury car was nowhere in sight. The first, overwhelming question for Detective Sergeant Royce Sterling wasn't who killed Amani. But why was she out here, in the dead of night, in a place she had no reason to be? Did she leave that penthouse willingly, or was she running from someone? To find the killer, the investigation immediately turned from the street to the skies. It focused entirely on that glass tower and the party Amani never finished. This wasn't just a social gathering. It was a closed-door trade show where dangerous deals were made and powerful secrets were exchanged. Quentin Rhodes, the host, runs in circles where power is absolute and discretion is mandatory. That guest list held the names of people who had everything to gain from Amani's silence. Her closest friend, Kendall Reese, was there. Her modeling rival, Zephyr Vance, was there. And every single person inside that penthouse had a reason to lie about what happened in the final minutes before Amani walked out of the light and into the absolute darkness. In this city, secrets are currency, and for Amani Zahara, the price was everything. You're already deep into the enigma of Amani Zahara. If this complex web of secrets and high-stakes drama has you hooked, please take a moment right now to subscribe to the channel. Hitting that button helps us unravel more cases like this one. And if you enjoy the way we piece together this story, make sure you hit the like button down the line. It truly helps us bring these stories of hidden justice to light. Now, let's go back into that penthouse, because to understand Amani's murder, we have to understand the life she lived and the dangerous debt she owed. Amani Zahara was a meticulously crafted persona. Her Instagram feed was a perfect vision of success: designer clothes, exotic trips, and bottles of the most expensive champagne. To her hundreds of thousands of followers, Amani was living the dream. She was the definition of black girl magic in the digital age: beautiful, connected, and endlessly thriving. But that image, like so much in Las Vegas, was a carefully maintained illusion. Amani's relentless ambition wasn't just about chasing likes, it was about outrunning the harsh reality of her finances. Behind the flawless smile she flashed for the cameras, Amani was under immense pressure. Her lifestyle required constant cash flow. She was supporting a demanding extended family and, worse, she had developed a taste for high-end gambling, not in the casinos but in the exclusive backroom poker games that Quentin Q-Tip Rhodes hosted in his penthouse. She had recently taken on a loan from a powerful, silent investor, a man who never showed his face but who certainly knew how to collect. This debt was her secret anchor, dragging her down while she desperately tried to swim to the top. The Black Diamond Party wasn't just an invitation, it was a deadline. Amani had a plan to use that night to seal a major endorsement deal, a deal big enough to wipe out her debt and buy her freedom from the investor. This explains why she had cut certain people out of her orbit, including her longtime modeling associate, Zephyr Vance. Zephyr was trying to pull Amani back into a smaller, legitimate business venture, but Amani saw it as a distraction from the quick, high-risk score she needed. Kendall Reese, Amani's best friend, saw the strain, but even she didn't know the full severity of the situation. Kendall only knew that Amani was tense, taking calls in whispers and obsessively checking her banking apps. Kendall was supposed to be Amani's ride, her grounding force, but Amani was already orbiting a world too dangerous for her best friend to touch. Amani had a time limit. She needed a quick fix. And Q-Tip Rhodes's penthouse was the only place she believed she could find it. She was gambling with her life, and the stakes were about to be revealed. The Black Diamond Party's true guest list was a tightly held secret, and every name on it shared a complicated history with Amani Zahara. This was not a coincidence. It was a deadly convergence of past deals and future betrayals. First, there was the host, Quentin Q-Tip Rhodes. Q-Tip was more than a party promoter. He was a gatekeeper. He managed access to the city's highest rollers. Amani had approached Q-Tip weeks earlier, desperate for quick cash. He hadn't given her a traditional loan. Instead, he brokered a dangerous introduction to his silent business partner, the one who held the six-figure debt over Amani's head. Q-Tip's payment for this introduction was an agreement. Amani owed him a massive, unspecified favor. The party was where Q-Tip intended to collect. He needed Amani to charm a specific high-value client, a job Amani desperately resented but couldn't refuse. Then there was Zephyr Vance. Zephyr wasn't just a competitor in the modeling world, she was Amani's former partner. The two had been developing a legitimate fashion tech startup together, but as Amani's secret debt grew, she started draining money from their shared venture to cover personal expenses. Zephyr had discovered Amani's thefts only days before the party. She was furious and planned to publicly expose Amani that night, effectively ruining Amani's reputation just as she was trying to land her life-saving endorsement. The tension between them was volatile, a ticking clock that could explode at any moment. Finally, there was Kendall Reese, Amani's closest confidant. Kendall knew Amani was playing with fire, but she didn't know the fire was a debt to a ghost. Kendall saw the Black Diamond Party as a dangerous step too far. She was nervous about the powerful, ruthless figures who attended these events. She tried to talk Amani out of going, arguing that their small business idea with Zephyr, though slow, was safer. Amani dismissed her, saying she needed a rocket, not a rickshaw. Kendall reluctantly agreed to drive Amani, hoping to be her anchor. Kendall was the only honest link Amani had to her old life, a life that was now being swallowed by the secrets of the Las Vegas elite. All three of these people, the host, the rival, and the friend, were present in the penthouse, watching Amani, waiting for their moment to intersect with her deadly game. The annual Black Diamond event was more than a party. It was an institution built on exclusivity. Held in the stratosphere of Q-Tip Rhodes's penthouse, there were strict rules. No social media, no photos, and absolutely no public discussion of the guest list. Attendance meant you were either rich, powerful, or useful to the rich and powerful. For Amani Zahara, this was her Hail Mary play. Amani had spent weeks preparing, viewing the night not as a celebration, but as a high-stakes negotiation. This party represented her one clear shot at landing a massive deal, the beauty contract that could wipe out the menacing debt held by Q-Tip's silent partner. If she failed tonight, the consequences were unthinkable. She didn't just want to be there. She felt she had to be there. Her future depended entirely on her performance in that room. Kendall Reese, sitting in the car as they pulled up to the secured private entrance, felt a knot of dread. Kendall had seen the way Amani dressed for these events, like a weapon, but she'd never seen Amani this desperate. She'd tried one last time to appeal to Amani's sense of safety. Kendall pointed out the sheer, unregulated power of the people Q-Tip invited. "These aren't friends, Amani," Kendall warned. "These are predators, and you're walking into their cage." Amani was deaf to the warnings. Her focus was absolute. She saw the potential payoff, the instant liberation from her financial nightmare. She checked her reflection, adjusted her borrowed jewelry, and stepped out of the car, leaving Kindle with a feeling of profound unease. As Amani walked past the heavy security and the velvet ropes, she was no longer just an Instagram model. She was a woman carrying a ticking bomb of secrets, walking straight toward the people who had the most to lose if she ever spoke the truth. The night had officially begun, and Amani was about to discover that the price of admission to the Black Diamond event was often non-negotiable and deadly. Inside the penthouse, the air was electric, a controlled chaos of flashing designer jewelry and murmured deals. Amani moved through the crowd with practiced ease, but her movements were focused, strategic. She wasn't here to dance, she was here to work. The first documented point on the timeline came shortly after midnight. Amani was immediately cornered by Quentin Q-Tip Rhodes. Their conversation, according to a nearby waiter's testimony, was short, intense, and low-voiced. Q-Tip appeared to be giving Amani last-minute instructions, pointing toward a secluded, high-net-worth individual across the room. The expression on Amani's face was tight, a mixture of fear and determination. It was clear Q-Tip was collecting on that crucial favor, setting Amani up for the meeting she had fought so hard and secretly paid so much to arrange. Around 12:45 a.m., things took an unexpected turn. Amani's path crossed with Zephyr Vance near the expansive terrace overlooking the city. Surveillance footage from a security camera on the terrace, later recovered by Detective Sterling, showed their interaction. It wasn't a friendly chat. Zephyr was visibly agitated, gesturing sharply with her hands. Amani kept her voice low, clearly trying to avoid a public scene, but the argument was heated. Zephyr appeared to be demanding something back, likely documentation or cash related to their failing startup, and Amani was refusing. The argument ended abruptly when Amani physically turned her back on Zephyr and walked away, leaving her rival simmering with resentment. The final confirmed sighting came at 1:00 a.m. Kendall Reese, who had been quietly watching Amani from the bar, saw her friend disappear into the inner VIP lounge, an area heavily restricted, even for most of Q-Tip's guests. This was the moment Amani was supposed to make the contact that would save her. Kendall had a sudden, overwhelming urge to follow her, but the lounge's security detail was ironclad. At 1:00 a.m., Amani Zahara was alive, walking confidently into the most dangerous room in Las Vegas, carrying a secret that was about to be exposed. From this moment on, the timeline of Amani's final hour begins to fracture, leaving only conflicting accounts and growing dread. The 2-hour window between 1:00 a.m. and 3:00 a.m. is the black hole of this investigation, where Amani Zahara's fate was sealed. What happened in that exclusive VIP lounge and immediately after is the key to her murder. Kendall Reese told Detective Sterling that she grew tired of waiting. She claimed she last checked the entrance to the VIP lounge around 1:45 a.m., saw no sign of Amani, and decided to leave at exactly 2:00 a.m., assuming Amani would call a car service or catch up later. Kendall's statement provided the police with a neat, if shallow, conclusion to the friend's involvement. But the police quickly learned that Kendall's timeline was entirely false. The building's security cameras provided a much different story. At 2:45 a.m., almost an hour after Kendall claimed she left, Amani is seen exiting the main penthouse lobby and stepping out onto the secure drop-off ramp. She is alone. Her elegant appearance is slightly ruined, her hair is loose and her dress is somewhat disheveled. She doesn't look panicked, but she does look extremely stressed, as though she has just finished an exhausting confrontation. The mystery isn't just when she left, but why she left alone and on foot. If she had a deal, why was she alone? If she was threatened, why did she wait nearly 2 hours in the most secure location in Vegas? Crucially, the footage shows Amani pausing just past the revolving doors. She pulls out her phone and appears to be frantically texting someone. Just off camera, near the shadows of a parked black sedan, a large, heavy-set man dressed in dark security attire seems to be waiting. He never looks directly at Amani, but he never takes his eyes off the exit. When Amani finishes texting and starts walking briskly down the ramp, away from the secure valet stand, the shadowy figure immediately begins to follow. Who was Amani texting at 2:45 a.m., the very moment she fled the penthouse? And who was the figure who watched her go, then shadowed her into the early morning streets of Las Vegas? This dark, 2-hour gap shattered every alibi and opened the investigation to the true, hidden danger Amani had faced. At 4:15 a.m., Detective Sergeant Royce Sterling arrived at the scene. The contrast between Amani's glamorous life and her final resting place was immediate and jarring. The crime scene was a derelict street corner, a world away from the luxury tower she had just left. Sterling knew instantly this wasn't a random act of violence. The physical evidence told a brutal and confusing story. Amani had been violently confronted. Her expensive gown was torn, and there were signs of a brief, desperate struggle. Initial examination suggested she had been brutally assaulted, but the official cause of death was not the visible injuries. Amani died from a single, specialized puncture wound, clean, precise, and not consistent with a typical street weapon. It was a tool designed to cause damage without creating a large mess. The way her body was positioned suggested the killer had dragged her a short distance before abandoning her. The analysis of the scene revealed that the killer was in a hurry, but also highly controlled. Nothing had been stolen. Amani's purse was found nearby, still containing several $1,000s in cash and her phone. This ruled out robbery entirely. The motive was not profit. The motive was absolute silence. Detective Sterling focused on Amani's hands. Even in death, one fist was tightly clenched. Forensics carefully opened it and found the most compelling piece of evidence, a single, flawless, 3-carat diamond earring. It was a distinctive, bespoke piece, far too expensive to be Amani's own. It was a trophy, ripped from the ear of her attacker during her final desperate struggle. This was the chilling truth. Amani Zahara wasn't murdered by a stranger looking for money. She was murdered by someone she had fought, someone she had reached out to, and someone who possessed the kind of wealth only found inside the Black Diamond penthouse. The diamond earring was a direct tether, connecting the quiet, desolate street corner back to the high-stakes, ruthless world of the Las Vegas elite. The investigation now had a target, but the owner of that earring had the power to make evidence vanish in the blink of an eye. Detective Sterling's team began by focusing on the public confrontations inside the penthouse, starting with the terrace altercation between Amani and her modeling rival, Zephyr Vance. Zephyr was brought in for questioning, and her demeanor was immediately hostile, not mournful. She quickly admitted to the fight, confirming the surveillance footage. She told police Amani had double-crossed her, draining their shared startup account to pay down personal debts. Zephyr had a clear, powerful motive born of financial betrayal, but her alibi was solid. She had left the party early, around 1:20 a.m., and was provably checked into a hotel outside of the city by 1:45 a.m., confirmed by keycard data and witnesses. Zephyr was clear of the critical window, but her genuine hatred for Amani made her a key source of motive. The investigation then pivoted to the host, Quentin Q-Tip Rhodes. Q-Tip was elusive and highly protected. By the time police arrived at his penthouse, he was already shielded by a team of high-priced lawyers offering only minimal cooperation. He claimed he didn't even notice when Amani left and refused to hand over a complete guest list, citing privacy agreements with his high-net-worth clients. This immediate stonewalling raised huge flags for Detective Sterling. Q-Tip clearly wanted the focus off his party, but the silence was broken by the earring. Sterling's team, using specialized jewelry records, successfully traced the diamond piece. It didn't belong to Q-Tip, but to his infamous, high-profile, and utterly silent business partner, a man known only as the Architect. This was the man who had extended the high-interest loan to Amani, and this was the man whose financial secrets Q-Tip protected fiercely. The suspicion was immediate. Amani had spent those 2 missing hours in the VIP lounge, threatening to expose the architect's illegal dealings if he didn't forgive her debt. Was Amani's murder an act of desperate corporate protection carried out by someone working for the architect? Just as the police were ready to pressure Q-Tip, the investigation hit a shocking twist involving Amani's closest friend, Kendall Reese. Kendall's alibi, that she left at 2 o'clock a.m., was proven to be a lie when cell phone forensics placed her still near the high-rise at 3:15 a.m., well after Amani was seen walking out alone. And critically, Amani's phone records showed she was texting Kendall just moments before her death. Confronted with the evidence, Kendall broke. She tearfully admitted she had lied, not to cover up Amani's murder, but to cover up a secret rendezvous with a married man. She claimed the man would have lost everything if her presence in the tower was revealed. But the damage was done. Kendall had hidden her true location during the time of death and had been Amani's final contact. Did Kendall only lie to protect a secret romance, or was she covering for someone much more dangerous, perhaps the very person Amani had texted right before she encountered her killer? The case had gone from a simple revenge plot to a complex web of lies, powerful secrets, and a diamond earring with an owner too dangerous to name. Detective Sergeant Royce Sterling was left holding the pieces of a puzzle he couldn't legally complete. He knew in his gut that Amani's death was quick, desperate, and personal, an execution designed to protect a financial secret. He began to synthesize the overwhelming but circumstantial evidence. First, the motive was solidified by the missing minutes in the VIP lounge. Sterling theorized that Amani's attempt to leverage her potential endorsement deal against her massive debt to the architect had failed spectacularly. She left the penthouse, not triumphant, but terrified and ready to expose the truth. Second, the time of death and location, the desolate back street, confirmed the killer's intent. The precision of the wound and the fact that nothing was stolen meant the primary goal was to ensure Amani never spoke again. The most damning physical evidence remained the diamond earring found in Amani's hand. This single artifact led Sterling directly to the architect, the powerful, silent money source. But the architect himself was untouchable. This is where the footage from the penthouse lobby became critical. At 2:45 a.m., just as Amani texted Kendall and walked away from the security of the building, a large, shadowy figure, later confirmed to match the description of the architect's personal protection specialist, was seen making a small, barely perceptible movement. A slight nod, a shift in weight, a signal. This was not a random passerby. This figure was waiting, positioned perfectly to intercept anyone leaving. Sterling concluded that Amani was ambushed within minutes of leaving the lobby. The bodyguard was the enforcer, the man tasked with ensuring the secret died with Amani. He was the one who fought her and lost the earring, the man who used a specialized tool to ensure a rapid, clean end. The bodyguard wasn't the mastermind, but he was the final, fatal connection. The entire case narrowed down to that brief, silent interaction just off camera at 2:45 a.m. A single shadowy figure, an immediate pursuit, and an abandoned body. The evidence trail was clear, but the political will to charge a man connected to the highest level of Vegas power dissolved the moment the investigation touched the architect. The killer was known, but untouchable. The true key to Amani's fate lay not with the bodyguard, Rook, but with his employer, the architect. Who was this man? The architect was never someone who got his hands dirty. He was a phantom of the financial world, a figure who had spent decades building an empire based entirely on leverage. He didn't run traditional businesses. He owned the debt of the people who ran them. His power wasn't visible wealth, but discreet influence. He mastered the art of knowing everyone's most damaging secret and having the absolute means to silence anyone who threatened his control. Rook, the cold, efficient operative, was simply the tool, the architect used to maintain his carefully constructed order. Amani Zahara came into the architect's orbit months before the murder. Her high-end lifestyle, coupled with the financial support she gave to her extended family, had created a deep, immediate cash flow problem. When she approached Q-Tip Roads looking for a large, quick loan, Q-Tip saw the opportunity not for himself, but for his master. He introduced Amani not to a bank, but to the architect. The agreement was simple and utterly devastating. The architect gave Amani the six-figure loan she desperately needed to cover her immediate crises. In return, the collateral was Amani's silence and, more critically, her access. By owning Amani, the architect gained a clean, beautiful, and connected face, an unwitting operative who could move effortlessly through the exclusive events and network with the high society figures the architect couldn't approach directly. Amani became a valuable asset, not just a borrower. But Amani, realizing the true cost of her sponsorship, tried to break the agreement. She was never supposed to get out. When Amani failed to negotiate her way out of the debt in the VIP lounge, the architect didn't call his lawyers, he called his collector. Rook intercepted Amani on the quiet street. The theory remains that Amani fought back, ripping off the diamond earring, a personal and highly expensive item linking Rook directly to the operation in her final moment of defiance. Rook then executed the final step of the collection process, the elimination of the threat. Rook was never officially charged. Without his testimony, and with the architect shielded by layers of legal protection and influence, the case went cold. The diamond earring, a perfect piece of forensic evidence, became nothing more than a symbolic promise of justice that Las Vegas refused to deliver. Amani Zahara's murder was solved, but her killer remains free. The ultimate tragedy is that Amani's pursuit of wealth, intended to buy her freedom, only led her into the company of a man too powerful to be convicted. She died holding the evidence of her murder, yet that evidence could not protect her. The story of Amani Zahara is a final, cold transaction in the city of glittering illusions. The operative, Rook, disappeared without a trace, his silence purchased by the limitless resources of the architect. The true mastermind, the one who ordered the elimination, never faced a single question from police, continuing his reign from the shadows. Amani's killer walked free, protected by a fortress of wealth and an absolute commitment to silence. Justice for Amani Zahara remains elusive, a painful footnote swallowed by the blinding lights and dangerous secrets of Las Vegas. Her ambition, her dreams, and her life were simply wiped away to protect a balance sheet. Detective Sterling knew exactly who was responsible, yet in this town, knowing the truth and proving the truth are two entirely separate games. Do the police know more than they let on about Q-Tip Rhodes' involvement? Did the architect's evidence lead them to a place they literally couldn't touch? What's your theory on who ultimately greenlit the order to silence Amani? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you found this investigation into the dark side of Vegas glamour compelling, please take a moment to hit that like button. Sharing this video helps us continue to bring these complex stories of hidden justice to light. Check out the channel right now for more true crime stories like this one, and make sure you click the video recommendations on your end screen for more investigations you won't want to miss.